You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Hey listeners, let me let you in on a little secret. You don't have to stress about planning your class lessons, small groups, and individual sessions anymore. My school counseling membership program, Impact, is here to help. So, what do Impact members get? Monthly curriculum plans across all 3 tiers, SEL lessons, small groups, individual, and seasonal activities, step-by-step video implementation guides, bi-weekly Zoom coaching calls with me, and an exclusive Facebook group community. This membership is designed for school counselors who want to deliver the best possible content to their students, but who also want to just press the easy button. You'll get access to monthly curriculum plans, resources, support, and community so you can deliver quality, engaging, life-changing counseling lessons to your kiddos. So what do you think? Are you ready to make an impact? Join today at stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/impact.
Hey there, thanks for listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. So like I said earlier this month, we were focusing on mini PD or some professional development topics that you can kind of, get your gears turning on during the summer months to think about next year. But today I want to devote this entire episode to summer self-care. So as a counselor, you likely know how important self-care is, and it's so important that we're taking care of ourselves so we can in turn help others. So I wanted to share with you today a few of my favorite summer self-care tips, and these are things that you can start doing today. They're pretty easy and accessible, and I think that you'll notice a big difference and feeling refreshed over the summer. So when you return to school, you are more calm and patient and ready to go. Okay, first up, read for pleasure. And maybe even for PD. You knew that was coming in, right? So I love to read. As an educator, I'm sure you love to read as well. I recently am super into my Kindle. So I go through phases with reading. I feel like I was a just hardcover book or softcover, but like a physical book reader for the longest time. It's funny, many of you may know I traveled for a long time. My husband and I actually backpacked around the world for like 2 years. And when I say backpack, I mean like literally living out of a backpack. So obviously weight and room was, really important to what we could fit in our bags. And I would be carrying around books, which is great that I wanted to read, but it's like I could have fit some more clothes in there and listened to an audiobook or something. But at the time, I was all about the books, and it was funny because I would have these physical books with me, and then we would, I'd get one in the States or something, and then we'd be traveling, and I'd finish the book. So usually if you're staying at like a hostel or like a boutique hotel or something, sometimes they have like a leave a book, take a book, or those mini libraries. So I would leave my book, and then I'd take one of their books, and I was really limited on the selection. So I ended up reading some like really weird stuff that year, things that are typically not genres I would choose. But it was kind of interesting, just things I would find around the world, like, oh, guess I'm going to pick this up and read it for now. I'd never even thought about, like, ebooks or Kindle. So weird, especially because I was kind of in a audiobook phase before the trip, but it didn't really stick. I was just all about the physical books. So now I do love to read a physical book in the morning. I try to read, like, a nonfiction physical book in the morning so I can highlight and take notes in my journal. And then in the evening, I like to read on my Kindle now. And I love my Kindle. I had bought my husband one for Christmas, like very recently. I think it was 2021. I had bought him a Kindle, and then he loved it. And I wasn't that interested in it. I was like, well, I'm going to keep reading my hard copy books because I was a member of the Book of the Month Club, which is really cool. I'll link to it in the show notes. But they send you a new book every month. I mean, you pay for it. But it's cheaper than if you were to buy them individually. And they like curate these cool titles. And you get to go on and pick like out of the 5 that they've selected which one you want to read. So I was getting my book of the month. So I got him the Kindle. And he loved it. And I was like, oh, I never thought I would be an e-reader person. But then he loved it so much. But I was like, well, I'm not going to buy myself one. Like, they're kind of expensive, whatever. I'm just going to keep reading my hard copies. But then he left his on an airplane, and then he ordered a replacement one. So we got him another one. Well, then we had filed, like with the airline, the missing item, and they actually got it back to us. They mailed it back. So then we had 2 Kindles. So then I got his old one. So it's pretty awesome. So now I have it and literally am obsessed. I can just download books. I can have like 100 books on there and it doesn't matter. And you can still highlight in the things. So anyways, I'm digressing a little bit, but I'm just talking about how much I love reading and how I am a Kindle lover now, which I never thought I would be. I have the Kindle Paperwhite. So I want to know, you guys just send me an Instagram message at Bright Futures Counseling. I want to know how you read. Are you doing audiobooks? Are you doing, like ebooks on a Kindle or something? Or are you a physical book kind of person? Now, I will say, I do love a good audiobook every now and then, but I tend to just listen to podcasts more. Clearly, I love podcasts. All right, so I'm encouraging you guys to read for pleasure. So grab a fun beach read novel, something you can just get lost in. That's always a great way to practice self-care. Or a nonfiction self-improvement book. It doesn't even have to be counseling related, but maybe it's like a, self-improvement, self-help type book. So for example, Atomic Habits is a good one. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I liked the You Are a Badass book. Anything like that to kind of get you motivated. Those are always fun to read as well. And bonus points if you want to pick up a counseling, psychology, or education-related read. So you can still have a little PD, snuck into your reading time. The actual reading, maybe you're laying by the pool or laying in a hammock or sitting in your backyard. That actual ritual of reading can still be relaxing, but at the same time, you could be enhancing your craft and preparing for next year. So recently, 2 books I wanted to call out that I've been reading. A fiction one I just read is called Paper Palace, and it was pretty good. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Does anyone else use Goodreads? I love it. Goodreads is funny though, because people always share their reviews on there, and I always just do the star rating. I never really type out a review, but I like to read other people's, and I'll finish a book and I'll be like, man, that was a good one, 4 or 5 stars. And then I'll start reading the reviews and I'm like, oh gosh, they're right. That was problematic. Ooh, I don't know about that. Maybe I didn't like it. And my husband was giving me a hard time. He's like, you liked the book and now you're saying you didn't like it just because you read other people's opinions. But I was like, well, I hadn't thought about that before. So if you're a Goodreads person, maybe you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Paper Palace, I think I gave it 4 stars. Page Turner really caught my attention. I hadn't read any fiction in a while, and I really liked that one. However, I will say, super trigger warning, there's a lot of sexual assault, and it's pretty detailed. So I would steer clear if that is a sensitive subject for you. Parts of the book were very difficult for me to read. But overall, it was a good one. And then my nonfiction book that I'm currently reading is called The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. And it's about this psychologist who had worked with some Vietnam vets and is now, using the studies of trauma and PTSD and how they're affecting children, adults, and just everyday people, not just people who are coming back from war. So that one's more counselorly related. I'm talking about how trauma, changes the brain and affects our bodies. I'm just at the very beginning, so I don't have too much to share on that one, except that I love it so far. All right, so first, that was to read. That is my first summer self-care tip for you. Next up, practice mindfulness. So I mentioned briefly a little before that I like to read a book in the morning and journal. I also try to do like a mindfulness routine. It's funny. I started getting up earlier because I was like, I'm going to get up before my baby wakes up so I can have some me time while the house is quiet. Well, then the earlier I kept getting up, the earlier he kept waking up. And I was like, oh my gosh, we clearly are like physically tuned to each other. So that wasn't really working, but I'm trying. I'm getting like maybe 30 minutes in solo. So starting a morning routine, seems simple, and it may seem like, I don't really need to do that. It's just kind of like a dinky thing. But the results can be profound. And I know counselors, teachers, educators are some of the best people to have a morning routine because you're already used to getting up early. And I know some of you, even in the summer months, it's hard for you to sleep in because you're used to just getting up early all school year. So you're already an early riser. Maybe you're a morning person. And if you like to sleep in, I think you should take advantage of that over the summer. But if you're into that routine of waking up early anyways, try to do a little morning mindfulness routine. So you can take, just 30 minutes, do a little meditation and journaling. And doing these things can literally rewire your brain, and the mindfulness especially, which will allow you to be in a more calm and less reactive state. Now, calm and less reactive sounds exactly what I need when it comes back to school time, right? When things are crazy again, but you're going to be all zenned out and ready because you practiced the summer self-care. So a couple meditation apps that I want to recommend for you guys. So I like using Insight Timer. It's free. I mean, I think there's like a paid upgrade, but I use the free version. They have like hundreds, maybe even thousands of guided meditations on there that you can filter for time, for topic, whatever. Like I know I'm pregnant, so there's even like some pregnancy ones on there. They have quite the variety. There's some if you have a hard time sleeping, or there's just simple mindfulness observation ones, goal setting ones, intention setting ones, a visualization ones, manifesting ones, like everything. And they're put up by different people. So kind of like YouTube, like people have different channels where they post videos. On this app, people have different channels, I guess, where they're posting their mindfulness meditations. So I love that one. It also has a feature where you can just set the timer and kind of create your own. And you can add different interval bells. So I'll do like a 3-part timer. So it'll have 2 bells. And I'll do it for 15 minutes. So like the first 5 minutes is just mindfulness, like just breathing in and out and trying to, have all thoughts leave the mind, being present in the moment. And then the bell rings. And then for the second 5 minutes, I like to focus on gratitude, reflect on things I'm grateful for, and to send like prayers and good wishes to friends and family. So like, oh, I hope so-and-so just has like a great day today, and like really think about those people. Then the bell rings again. And then for the last 5 minutes, I like to do my visualization. So this is like the fun part where you get to daydream kind of, and just kind of think about, visualize your future and what you want in life and what it's going to feel like when you achieve that. So I like to use the app that way as well. The second one I have is Oak, so kind of like the tree. And Oak is more simple, but it's great if you're just getting started. I would recommend it for beginners, and they have some visual like breathing on there as well that's really helpful. And then there's Headspace, which is a really popular one. I don't know that they have a free version. I used to have the paid version, used it for a bit. Currently not really using that one, but I know people love it. My husband really liked that one, so I wanted to mention it here as well. And we'll link to all of these in the show notes. And my third self-care strategy for you guys this summer is to get into nature. So whether you are a beach person like myself, or maybe you're a mountain person, a lake person, just a backyard porch sitting person, either way, it's so nice just to unplug and get outside, and your health and mental health will thank you. So I know many of you live in areas of the country that have harsh winters, and so I know you're like, you don't have to tell me twice. I'm so looking forward to just soaking up the summer sun, and it's so beneficial. I mean, everyone knows that, get into nature, but it's so important. And I think we talked about it in a previous episode. I'll link to it in the show notes, but about forest bathing. I kind of went on a little forest bathing tangent and how you could do something similar with your students. But yeah, so you could always, I don't really want to get deep into that here, but you could Google forest bathing and try to do some nature walks that way as well. My personal go-to nature activity is I love a good hike. Nothing too strenuous because I usually have the toddler now and I'm pregnant. But love just a little hike, get moving, get a little sweaty. But I love when it ends with like an ocean swim. That's the best. So if you could hike, like up a hill, then down, and then at the bottom's the ocean, and then you get to reward yourself with cooling off. That's seriously the best ever. Well, there you have it, guys. Those are my 3 self-care summer tips for school counselors: reading, practicing mindfulness, and getting into nature. But I want to know what you're doing for self-care this summer. I would love to connect with you. Please send me a message over on Instagram at Bright Futures Counseling. Tell me what you're looking forward to this summer. Are you just staying at home and chilling the whole time? Are you doing a lot of traveling? I know more people are traveling this year. Super exciting. And tell me what you're reading. I want to know, what have you read recently? Fiction or nonfiction, for pleasure or for professional life. That has just been awesome. I would love some book recommendations. I'm always looking for new ones. So, and tell me if you have any meditation apps or mindfulness apps that you like to use, because I'm always looking for new ones of those as well. Okay, guys, I hope you found this episode helpful. It was just kind of a fun one today where we got to chat. But I hope you're taking care of yourself this summer and you're relaxing and you're making the most of it, because you work so hard during the school year and you totally deserve this time to yourself. All right, guys, I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.